Welcome to our Wednesday night Medicare call. Every single Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We are getting towards the end of our 2022 annual enrollment period. It's currently November 30th. It means we got 7 days left coming on up. So I want to talk to you about some strategies, some stuff that agents are doing, some things, some techniques, and some things that you should be saying, making sure you're telling the clients as you're talking to them, and really getting you prepared for next year is what we'll be doing on tonight's call and upcoming on the following call. So I do want to open up with some stuff that you should be doing in terms of preparation. And I have John on here, John Peterson, who is, let's see, he is on the call, and he's going to talk a little bit about something that he did and implemented into his strategy that I would love for everyone to do and implement in their business model, right? So it's like, okay, well, great. Well, I'm writing Medicare, but I send out these letters. I know you tell me to send out letters to everyone. What do I do, next year? Can I sell more products to these people? So what I want to do now is I want to give you a little intro into what John Peterson, what he's done and how he was able to write a big annuity on a Medicare lead, right? So everything we do is compliant. It's always compliant. So John, you could go ahead. I'm going to hit ask to unmute there. You should be able to unmute, and I'll kind of give a little intro just so you guys know. John, he sells Medicare, buys Medicare leads. He started selling Medicare in 2021 around the June, July timeframe, in that ballpark. He's been doing it for about, let's call it 18 months now, and he's doing a great job with it, right? He's crushing. He's doing very well. He's built up a nice book of business. And one thing that he's implemented into his business has been annuities. So yeah, we have life insurance. That's our base. That's our foundation. That's our cash flow, because cash flow is king. And he's like, hey, I want the renewals, because renewals are crucial for me to stay in business. I want that guaranteed check. Let's add in some Medicare. Let's add in some health insurance. Then I want the big deposits, at least one a quarter. I want the annuities. So John, you kind of tell us what happened and how that kind of transpired, if you will. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the intro, Holden, and right on with the timeline there. Started back in June of 2021 with Medicare, and it's similar path to where I'm going with annuities right now as well. Final expense was the key and the linchpin to driving cash flow, making sure you got money in the bank to pay for leads and keep the lights on up at home. And so that was been the key there. But I noticed that whenever I was doing final expense, that I'd even be in people's houses and people would ask me, "Do you do Medicare? Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that?" And I would say, "No, I can't help you with that yet. I'm getting into it. I'm starting to do some training, but I'm not doing it yet." And so it was painful to not be able to help the people and not be able to get the easy sale from Medicare with them. The clients were just asking me. Now, been doing Medicare, like you said, for about 18 months. And then, I noticed that, there's different types of people that we visit, different types of people that send in those cards. You have your traditional final expense clients, which are going to do Medicare Advantage, but then you get people that, are a little higher income. You get people that got some money in the bank. You get some people that kind of, laugh a little bit whenever you talk about the Medicare savings program. They're like, I make way more than that. And I'm thinking to myself, well, this is kind of a different type of clientele. What can I do to help these people, especially in this market that we have right now? I mean, if you talk to seniors, they're angry because they're losing investment. They're losing their investment. Their retirement accounts are going down. They've lost 20, 30%, probably minimum. And this is right when they're supposed to be using that income to help pay and supplement their Social Security. And so probably about 6 months ago, I started getting into annuities and just kind of keep feeling out people. You've already gone into the house. You've already built the rapport with people. You've already gone in there and, you've put all this work in to form that relationship with the person. Maybe 15 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes if they're talkers. But yeah, so while you're there, why not talk to them about annuities in a compliant manner? Now, of course, we're not supposed to cross-sell directly whenever we're doing Medicare. And so in order to do this compliantly, just like you do with life insurance, you would want to set up a separate meeting with them and say, hey, I've got a really, full schedule today, but I'd love to come back out on Friday and come chat with you about this a little bit further. How about we go to that with a little bit more detail? And oh, by the way, before I come back, how about you look for that little statement that you got from JP Morgan, that little statement that you got from Fidelity. We'll review it together, just kind of see if everything looks good. And if it does, great. And if not, may have some options to help you out. And so you can just keep it really light, look really breezy on that side, and then, set up a compliant meeting with people. And that's just what I did on this end. So I had somebody that was on, in this case, it was a life insurance type lead. And so I was able to compliantly talk to them about annuities in the meeting and not have to set up a separate one. But yeah, I mean, it was very evident within the first 15 minutes that he was not a life insurance candidate. He had his house and he had another rental house. He's a good saver. And so, but he did have a life insurance bill that he was paying. He was paying about 125, 150 bucks a month. And he had a ton of cash value in there. And so I was like, hey, why don't we look at that cash value and I can roll this into an annuity for you, eliminate that payment that you have for your life insurance, and then that annuity will grow and turn into a nice little nest egg, and then your family can use that to help pay for your funeral. We thought that was a great idea. So that was a couple weeks back, maybe 3 weeks ago. And then another gentleman I met, I think this one was on a Medicare, and so we did have to set up a separate appointment. But yeah, this guy, also excellent saver. You wouldn't know it from looking at him, but he just sits there and hangs out, and very bachelor guy, very minimal guy. And, we just got to chatting a little bit. And then, just kind of during the intro, I like to talk about how I help out with not only life insurance, but I can help out with Medicare. I kind of talk about the things that I do. I can also help you out with some of your retirement questions. And so kind of keep it light and open. And then, as you start to go down one path, you may find out that, okay, well, with Medicare, he was happy. He was with Kaiser. Over here, like if they're with Kaiser and they're happy, there's nothing you can do because you cannot sell any Medicare plan that supports Kaiser unless you are only a Kaiser agent. And so we set up a separate little meeting and then a separate appointment. And then we got to discussing annuities. Lo and behold, the man's got 100 grand plus in the bank, but it's been doing very poorly. And so he was tired of it. And so yeah, they was able to set up a pretty good size annuity. 50 grand is what we're looking at for him. It'll be stabilized. You won't have to worry about his accounts going down anymore for his retirement accounts. And so, yeah, it was a pretty straightforward sale, and he was happy to have the security of an annuity. All right, and Holden, let's see. It looks like you not seeing my video's gone out on this end. I'm not sure if you guys can still hear me or not. Here, 5 year, 10 years. See how they've done, and then you're comparing like real things, not imaginary things that they made up in their mind. Once you do that, you can really make a big impact, and then you can show them how yours is a better option. And so that's something I picked up. I've tried, selling to people who say, yeah, I don't have it. I'll get my statement in a couple of weeks. And then I go and talk about the annuity in detail, show them the illustration. It's the same thing with life insurance. If you show them the quote without having all the facts in front of you, the chances of you getting that are slim to none. Same principle applies to annuities. And so every annuity I've sold, I've looked at their existing financial statements, tore it down. Now, I have had instances where the financial statements seem like they're doing a pretty good job, and then I'll just tell them, just like you do with life insurance, hey, these guys are doing a great job. If you're comfortable with this, then, I would keep doing what you're doing. But more often than not, the financial advisors have just thrown them in the heap of people that they don't pay attention to, doing subpar things, giving them subpar advice, selling them mutual funds with high management fees. Then they got their fees on top of that. And it's not a good deal. These people are getting hammered during retirement. You've all heard about it from your grandparents, from your parents, all of those folks that they went into retirement, and then 2008 happened. They went into retirement, and then 2001 happened. They lost it all. So annuities are a way to help prevent that from happening. You have to, of course, explain how annuities work, talk about how it's a 10-year, a 7-year, a 15-year, whatever kind of annuity you're looking at, and just explain that part to them. You can kind of explain it in financial terms. It's kind of similar to a CD in this regard. It's similar to your brokerage account in that regard, to help them familiarize. Because most people, the issue with annuities, they don't know anything about it. Now, not everybody qualifies for annuities. Anybody can open up a Robinhood account, right? But not everybody qualifies for an annuity. The minimum amount of money that they can have to even start an annuity is 20,000 total, 10,000 of which is they can put into the annuity, but then they have to reserve the other 10,000 in their existing accounts with, whatever 401k or savings or CD account they have to leave it there. So most people don't have 20,000 total that we're talking to. The other main thing with annuities you need to know is they need to be good at managing their money. So they need to have at least $500 cushion between what they spend and what they earn. So most people, especially in the final expense realm, they're spending every last penny they got and then some, right? And so even if they do have 30,000 in the bank, if they're spending $2,000 and they only make 2,100, well, now they don't qualify for the annuity. And so you kind of have to check those things out in the beginning. If you're starting to pivot into more annuity land where you're talking about that stuff, just ask some simple little questions to make sure you're not, blocking off an hour of time for somebody who's not qualified, and to just kind of go through some of that and make sure they're qualified before setting up that follow-up appointment after Medicare.
Yeah, I completely agree. So we're adding, thank you, John. I appreciate that. And that's some great information and great content for you guys as well. That's something we are doing as agents. We need to be prepared to talk about other products, because you spend so much time, money, resources, right? Gas, especially where John's at in California. It's not cheap to go see these people, sit down with them. So make sure that you're utilizing all of the products in your bag and you're able to sell this stuff, because during AP, we're really focused on Medicare, right? That's it. We're focused on Medicare. We're focused on getting those sales. I have one agent who literally was not even licensed in July and is now cashing a check. We just did the math yesterday, and it was a little bit more than $30,000 in January. And I'll say that again, was not even licensed in July and is now cashing a check for over 30 grand in January. And I just think that's an amazing thing. And there's a combination in there of true ups, right, and replacements for Medicare Advantage plans. And that's all coming from Medicare Advantage plans. So that's a tremendous thing. Okay, but what do you do after that? Right? Is that the only sale that you could get from your client that you can now compliantly market other products to? The answer is no. There's a ton of different stuff that you can sell them. There's a ton of different ways that you could be prepared. So sending out those letters to clients, I think I emailed some out to you guys so that way you have access to some of the letters that I sent out, and then sending out to clients continuously. You have T65 letters being sent out to clients. You might already have an existing client that, as Scott, he dealt with the other day, he was telling me about, he's like looking at it. And I know Steph as well, Bartlett, she was dealing with it too. She was looking at it and saying, hey, these med subs for people under the age of 65, they're really expensive. And I'm like, yeah, of course they're expensive. If you're under 65 years old and you're disabled, the price is probably going to be high because you're a high risk. You're disabled under the age of 65 and you don't blend well with their pool of seniors that are 65 and older. You're going to cost them more money more than likely, which is why you have a higher premium, right, to offset the risk. So most of the time, a lot of these people are like, hey, I can't afford $400 a month, $300 a month just starting out with a med sup. But when they turn 65, even though they were already on Medicare, that's an opportunity for you to now enroll them in a plan, in a Medicare supplement. So if they couldn't afford it before and they might want it now, there's your opportunity to get them into something for $120, $150 a month now that they aged into it. And another side note is, if someone was on Medicare or Medicare Advantage plan prior to the age of 65 and now they turn 65, okay, that is now considered a true up. So now you'll get paid the full boat commission on that, which is $601 in most states, plus your health assessment, right? Some states it's higher, 20 or 30% higher in other states, right? So that's a huge thing to notate as well. So when you're looking through your book of business and you're looking at your T65 list of people and you're saying, wow, wait, this person's already a Medicare client of mine, right? Oh, I don't need to market to them for T65. I would say, hey, you know what? Revisit them no matter what. It doesn't hurt. Right? Maybe you didn't sell them a hospital indemnity plan, and now it's an opportunity to get in front of them and sell them a hospital indemnity plan. So that's a great thing. As far as your leads go, just make sure with these leads that you have, if someone's sending in a lead card and they're requesting information about Medicare, and you have the ability to continue to work that lead. So keep working your leads and keep on grinding them and get in front of these people. So that's a very important thing. So you don't have to stop and just, throw in the towel and it's done. There's people that still need help. So still reach out to them, make sure that you're able to continue to provide services to them. I know with a lot of seniors that we're dealing with, sometimes people pick up the phone and they're not going to be too happy. They're upset that they pick up the phone and they're like, what do you want? And so sometimes it's all right to start off the phone call with, hey, I'm sorry. Like, I apologize. I know you're probably getting a million phone calls, and this just isn't one of those telemarketing phone calls with someone trying to sell you something. That's not what I do. Okay. So I've had that tone and trying to change that with some people because we can relate when we sit down with our own clients who get 15 phone calls in 15 minutes. And it's just crazy and it's ridiculous, and their phone just rang off the hook. So I don't blame them when they don't want to answer the phone, right? I don't blame them, which is why when we have a final expense lead, right, or if we're looking at a lead that would be considered, that doesn't say Medicare Advantage on it. So like, for example, Medicare supplements, if the lead just has Medicare on it and it's not designed for Medicare supplements or PDP or Medicare Advantage plans or PDPs, right? You can compliantly door knock those leads. You can door knock for Medicare supplements. You could door knock for final expense. So it's that creativity to generate more Medicare sales. They don't always have to be just necessarily for Medicare Advantage, but of course, that is our primary market since it goes hand in hand with final expense. So that's another great way to get in touch with our clients as well. Now, obviously, we maintain compliance. So I think that is a huge factor for you to do that. One thing that I'm seeing here in Texas as well is I see these Medicare Advantage plans through what's called TRS. So let me explain to you. I know I've probably said this 5 different times on 5 different calls because it's so important. Let me explain to you what happens with people when they retire. So we have retirees. So they'll retire from the federal government, from the state, from their local municipality, from a former employer, right? So they can retire in different ways and get insurance through those different ways. So those former employers, whether it be the Fed, the state, the municipality, their city that they worked for, or their former employer if it was an actual private employer. So they'll get those benefits. And when they get those benefits, sometimes what you see and you look at them, you're like, wait a second. These are comparable to a Medicare Advantage plan, but you pay for it. So if you and I we were next to each other and we said, hey, you know what? I have a BMW X5 and you have a BMW X5. This BMW X5 you pay $500 a month for. This BMW X5 you pay $0 a month for. Which one would you prefer? Well, does the one that you don't have to pay for, does that have an engine? Yeah, it does. And a transmission, right? And all 4 tires and wheels and everything. It's the same. It's pretty much identical, right, to the other one in terms of health insurance and how it operates. In fact, it has a network. It's network-based, just like your health insurance right now is network-based. So a lot of times I run into these people that have former employer plans that the quality is not superior, or if it is even superior, they're paying a premium that is in the hundreds of dollars to have a network-based plan. At the very least, get a Medicare supplement, right? If you're going to pay hundreds of dollars a month and have a Cadillac plan where you don't pay a dime for anything, right? You just pay a monthly premium like you're doing right now. If not, and you want a network-based plan, we can go with a Medicare Advantage plan for 0 premium plan. I mean, that's a pretty important thing. So when you see those, don't be afraid of those former employer plans and saying, wait, nothing I can do to help you. Right? So a well-versed Medicare agent, yeah, there is actually. Just because someone takes out a card and they show you a card that is from a former employer, right? Don't be afraid. Oh, this is from General Motors. This is from Ford. This is from Teachers Retirement System. This is from the Postal Service. Where you got to ask those questions and fact find and see, hey, is this even in your best interest to even make a change? And if it's not, I'm just going to be honest with you and tell you the truth. And if it is, I'm going to explain to you why. Right? So I got to ask questions. Hey, how much are you paying per month? Okay, great. And keep in mind, guys, too, if you let that fish off the hook, that's fine. That's all part of our post AEP strategy, right? Finish strong. You got another 7 days. Finish strong. Get that check. In January, you're going to start getting deposits. UHC usually pays the quickest, right? They usually pay in the first week, and then you have Humana second or third week, and the cash flow just starts hitting, and then you're just going to be rolling for all next year. It's going to be crazy. But with that said, you can go back to these people you had a fish on, and you let them off the hook, and now they're gone. You couldn't reel them in. You know, don't be afraid to revisit those people. So there's certain people that you might have learned something on this call, and maybe you didn't call me while you were in the home, or you just thought you weren't able to help them, that this is going to be able to help you as an agent get better. Okay. So that's a pretty cool thing for you guys as agents to understand, right? So you say, okay, well, now I know if someone is in Texas and they have teachers retirement system, they're just on a regular Medicare Advantage plan. And when you enroll them from one Medicare Advantage plan into another Medicare Advantage plan, what happens? Well, what happens is they get disenrolled from their current Medicare Advantage plan, even though it's an employer plan. So you don't even have to do any cancellation forms. And they're paying $150 per month, right? Or it's going up, and they change companies every year. So it'll go from United Healthcare this year, I think, and then one of my clients tell me it's either, I think it's Anthem next year. And then you got to look at all your doctors again and say, hey, do my doctors take Anthem, right? So a lot of these employees are former employees of that were a part of the teacher's retirement system. You know, they're looking at this and like, I don't want to make that type of change, and now I got to pay more money, and it's a different company, and every year they go and renegotiate the contracts, and it changes. So what that does for you, okay, so let's say, for example, you get a federal employee, or you get a teacher's retirement system, or someone that worked for GE or whatever, it doesn't matter, right? You now have access to someone that you can get referrals from. Because let me ask you a question. Do you think that person knows anybody else that worked at that company? More than likely, yes. So what happened to me is I had one TRS lady that I helped. Okay, and when I helped that one lady, it has now turned into over 15 additional people I've been able to help. 15 people. That was literally one Medicare lead in 2021, and I still get phone calls from her all the time. Hey, can you help so-and-so? Yeah, perfect. Not a problem, right? So that is pretty dang cool to open that up. So don't be afraid to ask for referrals from your clients as well. So, hey, you were there, you got a sale, but you didn't ask for referrals. Shame on you. Okay, but you got another opportunity to do it. So we're going to be able to do that as well. So as we head into the end of this year, and I just saw something pop up, there's a question, but I didn't look at the chat box yet, but I saw OEP. So let me just explain what OEP is. So OEP is open enrollment period. And what that is it's going to be an opportunity between January 1st and March 31st for a client to make one change from their existing Medicare Advantage plan to another Medicare Advantage plan. And the effective date would be the following month. So let's say, for example, you enroll in January, it would start February 1st with their new plan, regardless of whether or not they made a change during AP. The rules have changed, they change all the time, but regardless of whether or not they made a plan change during AP, they have an opportunity to make one more change, and that's it, one. So AP, you could change 10 times, right, during AP. Just make 10 different changes. OEP, you get to use that election period once. That's it. Okay. So that's January 1st through March 31st. All right. So let's say, for example, you have a client that you enrolled during AP, and you changed them from United Healthcare to Humana. January 1st, they call you like, whoa, I don't like this Humana plan. I hate it. Okay, not a problem. I can come back out and I can help you enroll into whatever other company you'd like to go into. You sit down with them, they talk to them, and they say, I want to go back to my United Healthcare. Not a problem. You enroll them back in United Healthcare. You now will get a chargeback from Humana, okay? And then you'll get a commission from United Healthcare and use OEP as the election period. That's a good thing for you to know, all right? Persistency is pretty dang good if you just follow the systems and strategies that I do with the strategy for retention. And what I say for you guys is always, hey, send that thank you card, send letters, stay in front of your clients, call them, text them, right? I mean, do whatever. I think texting is a cool way to reach out to a lot of clients, a lot of seniors. When I started, 2023 will be my 9th year. 9 years ago, texting wasn't really a big thing with the senior market. Now I think it's a lot more prevalent, and I think that's a huge thing. So you could do that. And when you're in sales, you don't always have to be pitching someone, selling someone. It's just something as simple as, hey, happy Thanksgiving. I hope you have a great time with your family. Stay safe. Right? Whatever. It doesn't matter. It can just be something simple. You don't always have to send a letter, hey, let me get a sale from you, or additional sales. You can just send a letter, hey, happy holiday season. Hope you and your family have a great Christmas. Right? I'm thinking of you guys. Keep us, in your thoughts as well. Enjoy that time. So whatever it might be. So you could send that out, but you're staying in front of that client. So when they think insurance, they think of you. When they think of you, boom, that's gonna ultimately get you more sales. So that's a huge thing. So let me see. Explain the goal during OEP. Should we reach out to the people we met with during AEP but wanted to stay in their current plan, or plan another agent, put them in to save them? Yeah, I mean, I think it's always a great opportunity to follow back up with people and talk to people. As long as, hey, you spoke to them and they were interested and they want you to reach back on out, you can always talk to them. Sometimes people are in a good situation, or sometimes people say, yeah, I got it taken care of already. And you look at it and you're like, that's probably not a good plan, right? Someone switched you to this 2.5-star rated plan, and you and I both know the quality is not good, right? So we look at it and we say, all right, well, this quality of this plan is not too hot. So I'm probably going to want to stay away from this plan. So what does that mean for me and you as agents is, hey, that's an opportunity for us to go ahead and get a sale from someone, knowing that they're probably going to be displeased with it either that month of January or February or March, right? They have 3 months. And sometimes people don't know it's a bad plan until they go to use it, right? So sometimes you have clients that they're in pretty good health overall, right? So you look at them, you're like, wow, you're in pretty good health. But then when you look at it, okay, you say, wait a second, you go to use this health insurance, they go to use this health insurance, and they are just livid. The doctor doesn't take it, or they can't get their drugs. Oof, that is the worst one. They can't get their drugs. Clients, when they can't get their drugs, are not happy. Or they go to the pharmacy, and the pharmacy's like, that's $80, right? Just for this one medication. I'm like, well, I can't take that. Well, if you don't take your insulin, what's going to happen? Probably not something very good. So I always say for agents to make sure, keep that follow-up game very strong, stay in front of your clients, and people that that are probably in a bad plan or a bad situation, try and help them out as best you can and put them into a good situation and make them your client for life. Another thing that I want to talk about too is making sure that you check your application status. So 2 notes here. We have application status, we have customer lookup, and we have Medicare.gov. So let me touch on those 3 notes that I have here as well. So application status, what I mean by that, just log into the agent portal, make sure that that client is still on the books with you and they weren't changed to another plan. Sometimes they get a phone call and all of a sudden someone changes them from one plan to the next. Okay, is what it is, right? But, when you have your client, they just answer the phone and someone just puts them in a bad plan, or they just change them for the sake of getting a commission, right? That's not the right thing to do. And they don't do the research, they don't do the due diligence, whereas we do. And that's what makes us the best quality agent possible. So make sure that you're doing that as well. Checking your book of business and checking the application status. Decline for whatever reason, you put the date of birth in wrong, or wrong Medicare number, whatever it might be, okay? Customer lookup. So in Sunfire, we all know after you add a contact and you click quote, you put in all their information, it gives you it says it says zip code, and then beneath it says view all plans. Okay, right next to that says customer lookup. So once you do that customer lookup, what you're going to do is you're going to type in, there's 3 different things. It has their Medicare number, it has their date of birth, and it has their zip code. When you type in those 3 different things, okay, their Medicare number, their date of birth, and the zip code is going to tell you what their current plan is and their prior plan. So we ran into a case today where someone was in a prescription drug plan. They didn't know exactly what it was. They thought it was Mutual of Omaha or something like that, and they knew that they were paying $92.50 a month. said, okay, that's great, right? That's for prescription drug plan. We all know on this call that's incredibly expensive. Obviously, it depends on what drugs you're on. It's subjective to the case, but 95% of the time, if not higher, that's a pretty dang expensive prescription drug plan. And the husband and the wife were on the same exact thing. So that's what is that? $185 a month. So I said to the agent, hey, not only what are they paying today, 2022, but what are they going to be paying in 2023? Looked it up, and it was $103 a month. So now it's going to go up an extra $10 and change per person. It's extra almost $250 a year for that couple, an additional $250. So that right there was just a major cost savings. Even if you can't help them with their Medicare supplement plan that they have, you're still able to save that person money. What does that do when you save someone money? It opens up the door for other products. So can someone that has a Medicare supplement, can they get a hospital indemnity plan? Yeah, absolutely. They're going to get cash. They're going to get a check sent to them. That's fine. You don't get what you don't pitch, right? So make sure you pitch those products. So customer lookup is a great feature for you as agents to kind of see what someone has when they're a little confused. If they don't have their social security, or if they don't have their red, white, and blue card, or they have a red, white, and blue card with their social security number with an A at the end of it, or a W or a B at the end of it, right? A social security number, which is 9 digits, and then a letter at the end. That's an old social security card from prior to probably 2019. I would say, yeah, prior to 2019. And that, in order for you to get the actual MBI number, the new one, which is just a bunch of letters and numbers jumbled together, right? In order to get the new one, you have to call the producer help desk at Humana or United Healthcare and tell them, hey, I need to get the MBI number for this client. They lost their card, or they have an old card. Client can also order a new card by calling Medicare themselves. So that's a good thing as well, another note. Next is Medicare.gov. So another way to track your clients over there with them is you can look and say, hey, what's their current plan? And then it'll tell you their future plan, and it'll say, effective January or something like that. So you can also check on Medicare.gov and see that stuff with your clients. Hey, did someone already enroll you in a plan? Because sometimes people don't know. And like we said, they get a million phone calls. So that can be another thing that's very important as well. And next, let me see. Hey, John, you had a question before, but when I reset my Zoom, it was gone. It was something about like a client had QMB status. If you want to type that again into the text box. Okay, let me go ahead and hit on mute. If anyone else has any questions too, please go ahead. And John, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, so the question was, let me bring up the chat box. I still got it on this end. I've got an esoteric question about a client who is inactive with QMB, got a notice from CMS that I said that he was losing coverage, but I'm not sure that was what was in the notice. It might have just said inactive. But when he calls Medicaid, they said he has QMB. United says he can stay with the dual plan. Jarvis says he's inactive. UHC producer help desk says inactive. Humana says ineligible. Any idea what's going on?
Yeah, okay. That's going to be not fun. So sometimes there can be a disconnect between the state and dealing with the federal government, right? Because Medicare is at that federal level and then Medicaid to the state. So
okay,
what I would do for him is he would have to prove eligibility to that insurance company. So going down to the Medicaid office and getting an actual letter, and then you can fax the letter in to United Healthcare, that's probably going to help you the best there to actually proof of eligibility. Like, hey, I actually do have this. Here's a letter dated, December 1st, showing that I have it. In the state of Texas, I've seen the letters that the clients get, and it tells you the start date and when it's effective till. So a letter like that would really help a lot. So sometimes the clients, they make mistakes and stuff like that. They don't fill out the form to get Medicaid the next year. So make sure that they're doing that as well.
Yeah, that's what I think has happened in this case. And so what I instructed him to do and what I recommended him to do, his daughter's there with him. Poor guy's got stage 4 cancer. Like, he's really going through it. The last thing he needs is all this drama with his healthcare. If he loses his dual coverage, that's going to make a massive difference in how much he pays for healthcare. He doesn't make that much. I checked with him on the phone. Based on that, he looks like he should have QMB status, and checked income levels, checked asset levels. He laughed whenever talking about the asset levels, which is always a good sign that you know that they're underneath that threshold. And so I'm reasonably confident that he should qualify on paper. I think it's exactly what you said there, where he probably just didn't renew it. And so what I did is what I recommended was that he log into yourtexasbenefits.com, or in Texas, they have an app that you can download for your iPhone and Android devices, also called Your Texas Benefits. And so if they forget that, then I just say, hey, look at your Medicaid card. What's in the upper left-hand corner? Your Texas Benefits. And so it's written on the card, or maybe it's on the back, I forget. But it's written on there, so they're familiar with that. They can log in, and I've gone through with clients in their house and helped them do this. Log in, and just a matter of renewing it, and then you can just say, did this stay the same? Is your bank account the same? Is your income the same? And you can, as long as everything's the same, you can help them renew that coverage. It'll be done in less than 15 minutes. So I think that's what happened.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So that's another way that can really tremendously help our clients out. And it's those little things that ensure if that client thinks about insurance in the future, John's going to be his guy, right? Like he's going to be the person that's going to take care of that client. And that's that relationship that's going to be there for life. And I think that's a big thing for us as agents to understand. Right. And I know I say this all the time, right? We're not just there to get a sale. We're there to really genuinely help these clients because, yeah, you're going to make money, right? And that's the byproduct of what we do. And I think that's a beautiful thing, of course. But in addition to that, in addition to making money, we're going to be able to help these people for the rest of their life and put them in a good situation as best we can, So that's a big thing. And whenever these people think insurance, they're going to call John. Hey, you know what? I know you really helped me out with that, and I love it. I appreciate it, and that's a big thing. So make sure you do those little things, and they can become a big reason why clients stick with you. I'm gonna go to the next one. Let me just check chat box real quick, see if anyone else has anything. I had a question come in for AORs, which is agent of record. So back in the day, they used to allow us to just fill out a form, which was an AOR form to change AOR, change client, change the client agent of record on the policy. So I didn't even have to get a sale. I could just fill out a form and say, hey, I want this person to be my agent. And now I am the agent for that client. And now I'm getting paid the commission, even though I didn't change their policy. I didn't do anything to it. It just changed who the agent of record was. That's not really a cool thing. I don't like it personally, right? I'm not a fan of it because I wouldn't want someone doing it to my book of business itself. So Aetna is the only company that I saw that you could do this with this year, which I don't like. But a lot of companies and a lot of agents are against it out of someone. Like I'm a great agent. I don't want someone going into the home and telling me, no, we're not making any changes to your plans. I'm just going to be your agent now, right? I'm just here, sign this. And they don't even know what they're signing, and they send it in. Right. And how would a client know who their agent is on their Medicare plan anyways? They'd probably end up still calling us. So that's something that I want you guys to take note of as well. There's only one company, Aetna, that does it, and Aetna is not doing well on the Medicare side. They are not doing well this AEP in most markets that I've seen. They are not doing well. So that's something that ain't too hot, unfortunately, for them. So agent of record status, just understanding what that means, and don't waste your time filling out a form for it because you're not going to get paid. So you can change agent of record with all companies, I believe, but it doesn't mean you're going to make a commission check on it. So it doesn't make sense to do it at all. Joe's iPhone. I'm hitting ask to mute. You should be okay. Go ahead, Joe. Hey, Joe, I can't hear you, bud. So if you're saying something. Hello?
You got me now?
Got
Hello?
somebody. Go ahead. Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
No, so I got a client who I had at the time. I knew a guy who was doing Medicare, so I just referred him over to him. He said, whenever you get ready, if you want to take the clients back, if it makes sense, go ahead. Well, those clients ended up actually moving to Arizona, and they're on a Medicare Advantage plans. One of them is a local plan here. The other one is, I believe, Humana. Now they're not. They plan to travel back to see family here maybe a couple times a year, but it's not like they're going to be here. It's not a 50-50 kind of a thing. So I was like, all right, do we need to consider a Medicare supplement plan? They have some financial means, but not a whole ton. And we actually got one of the guys out of a supplement plan before we knew they were moving, the husband. Question is, when it comes to an Advantage plan, one, I can imagine having a local Advantage plan isn't going to make any sense. Is it more conducive that they just go and get with an agent in that area, or can they keep that Humana plan in any
Yeah, that's a great question. So, okay, so there's pretty much 3 requirements to have a Medicare Advantage plan. Is you have to have Part A and Part B, right? So those 2. And then the third thing is you have to live in the plan service area. So if you don't live in that plan service area, you can't have that plan. So I'm here in Texas. If I have the AARP HMO plan over here in Dallas area, Dallas County, and I move to Pennsylvania, I can't have that because I have Part A and Part B, but I don't have the third thing, which is reside in the plan service area. So if you don't do that, then you got to get a new plan. So if you're licensed in that state, write them on up with whatever the plan is in that area. Or, if you're not licensed there and, it's another state, and if there's someone that we know personally, we can keep it internal and help that client out. Or Medicare supplement, obviously, is a great thing too.
Right on.
Good to go. Cool. All right. Appreciate you. Thank you, sir. Let me go ahead and hit John. I believe John has a question. And also, guys, if anyone else has any questions, feel free. John, go ahead.
I've got a follow-up question to Joe's there. So they've moved to Arizona. They're originally in, I guess, the north area, wherever Joe's at. And they may be traveling back to that area. So they may have some doctors that they want to see whenever they leave Arizona. So if they're in a straight HMO, then they're kind of locked to that network that's regional for that Arizona location. But it's my understanding if you get like an HMO POS, or maybe if they get a PPO, then that opens their network up a little bit. And so Joe may have an opportunity if he's licensed in that state. You don't necessarily have to go for Med Sup. So I think you could go with an HMO POS or a PPO type plan, and then that would give them a lower premium and also a bigger doctor network.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So, and one other question that came in. Thank you, John. Appreciate you. Yeah. So PPO is always going to be better than an HMO. But sometimes our clients, they're sick, they're seniors that don't really leave their areas, so an HMO or PPO doesn't matter to them. And I totally understand that. So that's a huge thing. With the PPO, you can go out of network. And also keep in mind, if they are just traveling and on the road somewhere for 2 weeks and they have some type of emergencies are always treated as in network. So it doesn't matter if they have an emergency or something along those lines. That's okay. All right. So that's all right. That's absolutely fine. If they have an emergency and they're out of state or out of their planned service area, it's treated in network for any emergency as well. And yeah, PPO, you can go in and out of network. Gail, I hit ask to unmute, so you can go ahead. I hit ask to unmute there, so you should be able to. I'll read Jason's question while you do that. Is there anything we can suggest to get in front of people this week or so? I'm barely getting any of my leads. So in terms of that, it really is just working your book of business, door knocking and dialing as best you can. I don't think that there's anything different that I do in terms of strategy, especially when mail dries up. One thing that I would recommend is I can guarantee you that there is direct mail somewhere in this country. I could guarantee you. So it's the last week. Okay, the last week here. Make a push. If you got to go on the road for 4 days and those 4 days equate to 20 Medicare apps, right? That's 5 a day. And during AEP, at the end of AEP, you bought 100 direct mail leads. I mean, that's really not that bad. 5 days, you did 20 Medicare apps, 25 Medicare apps. You look at that number, that's $6,000 coming in January, plus every single year those clients stay on the books. So you could look at that number and say that all those clients stayed on the books for only 5 years. That's $30,000. So I think that is a big thing. There's leads somewhere. And I know you guys are in North Carolina, so I'm sure there's probably leads in Tennessee. I don't know 100%, but I did look maybe last week and they were there. There was leads in Tennessee, so, and that's close to you guys, relative, right? So driving purposes. But if you'd like to do a blitz, give me just send me an email and just, tell me that you'd like to do a blitz, and I can look at preparing that and getting you out there and making that final push. So there's always leads somewhere, and also you can order those digital leads, right? They're only $9. It's, I believe so, not 100%. So I'll have to double check and just to verify that we still have some co-op money left. So that is great, and we could do that as well. So we'll definitely get you that stuff. Let me go to this next question here. Oh, Gail, okay, not a problem. Let me go to this next question here from Nick. He said, I have a client who recently moved to Louisiana, or moved from Louisiana to Galveston, and wants to keep his primary physician in New Orleans. I was able to get him in a PPO at zero. That is zero. Yeah. So, I mean, the reality is if he's going to go to a doctor, he'd have to call the doctor and see how the billing works itself, because that doctor is out of network, I'm assuming. So they would actually have to check with their billing department. As far as billing goes, I wouldn't be able to really answer that question because I don't know how the insurance company is going to properly bill that. That's not going to be his primary care physician on the plan. I can tell you that much. So like on his card, it's not going to be whoever that doctor is, because it's got to be a doctor in that area. But since it's a PPO, if doctor's not a network and he goes out of network, that's absolutely fine. Going out of state just to see a doctor, you can do it. You can do it. It's just a matter of how it's going to be billed and how he's going to pay for it. I'm not 100% certain on that. So I would have him call the doctor's office and ask that question. And that usually goes to the billing department. And then they ask you like plan specific information, like, hey, what's your plan number, your group number, stuff along those lines. So let me just see if there's any other questions. All right. If anyone else has any other questions, let me know. If not, 7 more days left. I'll let y'all get back to it. I appreciate everyone for joining the call, and keep it rolling. Just keep it going. You guys have done a phenomenal job so far, and I see no reason why you can't finish strong. If your goal is 40 apps and you already hit 40 apps, hey, your goal isn't done yet. You got to push it up another 10 or 15. If your goal is to hit 125, 200 applications, whatever it is, if your goal was to hit 200 and you're only at 150, then you got a week left. Right? There's still a lot of people that you can help. You could do a blitz somewhere in this country. You could buy 100 leads. You could do final expense leads. You could do Medicare leads, right? We can do it. There's a way to do it. Volume is your friend, and spending money now is going to only benefit you in the future. So I appreciate everyone for joining. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. If you have any questions, let me know. If you want to do a blitz, shoot me an email. Just label it in the subject line, blitz, and let me know, and I'll get to work on it, see if I can help you out. All right. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you.